A warm welcome to the AI Job and the Hustle chat. My name is Kenny Kebwako, and I'm the CEO of Mozisha. I'll be your moderator for today's conversation. As you all know, we are living in an interesting time, an exciting time also at the moment. AI is no longer just a buzzword, it's reshaping literally how we interact with one another, how we work, how we hustle. And for us as Africans, this is not just disruption, it's also an opportunity. And so that is why we are here today to actually learn how to turn these changes that is happening in the world into pathway for jobs, innovation, and businesses. Dr. Paul Amayo is supposed to be here with us, but he had a flight delay. In fact, currently it's in the air flying to Nairobi, and because there was a delay with his flight. And that said, we are honored to have two incredible speakers with us today. First is Rama Apulo. He's going to introduce himself later. And also we have Oluwadara. So without further ado, I'm going to really just ask, I will start with Rama. Rama, please, if you can just briefly introduce yourself by sharing the journey, also touch on the journey that brought you into technology, AI, and the innovation space, and maybe one or two things you are most passionate about in this space. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot, Kenneth. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Oluwadara, as well, and the rest of the team for organizing this. My name is Rama Ochieng Afulo. I am a Kenyan. It is the only passport that I have. I've lived across 6 countries and 3 continents so far in my 33 years of life. So that includes Kenya, Botswana, South Africa, the Netherlands, Ireland, and the US. My background is in mechanical engineering and space systems engineering. I've worked across Tesla as one of the first 3 employees of Tesla in Africa in the sales engineering department. Google over the last 5 years or so, across Google Ads, cloud engineering, as well as startups in artificial intelligence, and finally at SpaceX as one of 4 product managers for Starlink. Over the past year, I've had the honor of being the founder and CEO of a company called Satellite. We are interconnecting satellites in space, and we sit at the intersection of space, AI, and cloud computing. So we have partnerships across NASA, as one of only 47 companies that have been granted a $1 million NASA SDTR grant. We are venture-backed with Antler VC, Slauson & Co., and a few other angels across the ecosystem being some of our investors. We're currently raising our seed round as well. And yeah, we should be deploying our software directly onto live satellites within the next few months as well. So that will be when we finally get flight heritage, and we'll be doing something, I think, significant in the space ecosystem. And the idea is to be part of the backbone that we call it the above cloud service provider, where we will be part of the internet backbone for space, where we create a standardized communications protocol. And happy to deep dive in whichever direction. And what was the part of the question, Kenny, about how we got here? Or you're on mute. You're on mute.
So if you can just touch quickly on something that you are passionate about, either within technology or AI.
Yeah, sure. I think that there has never been a better time in human history to be able to build anything at will, right? With just a little bit of imagination. And in fact, you probably don't even need too much imagination. You just need to be able to work across a bunch of different AI tools. You can build almost anything you want within a week, where previously it could have taken you 2 years, 3 years to do. Right, so putting together a dashboard, which used to be someone's full-time job, some analyst like suffering and slaving over some dashboards, you can do right now within 5 minutes, right? So I think one thing I'm passionate about is that if there's something that you're going to do, regardless of where you are in the world right now, you can actually do it, right? You can put together the ability to get $500 worth of funds from someone, get free cloud credits from Google, AWS, and some other folks, and you can build whatever it is that you imagine that you want to build. As long as it's software, it's fairly easy right now. Software is now a commodity, and AI has made that a possibility. So that's something I feel very strongly about. We are just overall globally starting to move towards a job shortage, and it's time we take matters into our own hands.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You're really releasing some serious nuggets there. Oluwadara, maybe if you can just quickly introduce yourself as well. And if there is anything that you feel passionate about within the space, whether it's AI or technology.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Kene. Hi, Rawa. Hi, everyone. And thank you for having me here. My name is Onwada Kairos, and I'm a self-taught motion designer that is integrating AI into my workflow. And I started where I worked as a sport designer in a top gear company here in the country. And then I discovered Shortage, and this was what led me into motion graphics and 3D, whereby we can visualize products before they are already made. And this has already made me to now delve more into AI, and which is something that has really make me to move more into immersive design. And we currently just finished some work at Lagos Business School, whereby we are creating a solution for educational sector where it can be used not just in the educational sector, but also in the HR sector too. And when it comes to AI, it's one of the things that I'm passionate about because it is something that actually reduces the work chain or production time by more than 40 to 60% of what we used to do, especially as a 3D designer. What used to take let's say 4 or 5 days or even 2-3 weeks because of rendering and all of that now takes hours, just 2-3 hours. You're done with everything you used to do before in 2-3 weeks. And that is the power that AI has given to us. And this is why I'm exploring it a lot and using it in my workflow with everything and all that I'm doing. So I think that for now, I'll just stop at that. And then as we go on, we'll get to know more.
Thank you. No, thank you so much, Oluwadara. My first question will go to Rama. Rama, we are seeing more and more companies tightening entry points for fresh graduates, often asking for years of experience. And the thing has become really more rampant in the age of AI, where they will use some of these tools to do entry-level jobs. So for young Africans who are just starting out, maybe they just graduated, and now they find themselves in this precarious position. Maybe if you can tell us some of the strategies you think they could use to break into either meaningful work or meaningful life for themselves in an economy which doesn't make room for fresh graduates.
Yeah. I think the first thing I want to acknowledge is that I've been very lucky, right, through my life. My father is a professor of electrical engineering. My mom's a computer scientist. And although we were economically exiled from Kenya when I was 4 years old, that's really the biggest hardship that I've had to endure, right? Just overall, when I think net. So when I give advice, please just take into account that I'm talking from my position, only what I know. I'm not necessarily trying to make folks who might not necessarily have had the same experiences feel in any sort of type of way that they their struggles are not real, right? So everyone goes through something. That said, I think that there's a few things to think about here. Firstly, no one owes you anything and no one cares about you. Those are harsh realities of life, right? Folks will tell you all these things about, well, Africa will be the youngest population and, our boom is coming, etc., etc., etc. While those same folks who are telling you this, and a lot of our politicians are selling us out on a daily basis. This is the very reality of what we live in. So if we know that, there are a few things that we need to acknowledge about human history. Firstly, human history began in Africa, right? We are the origin story. Beyond that, these things are cyclical. Most empires fall at some point in time, and usually it's from an internal implosion rather than external factors. So what do we do as a result of that? Right now, we have the ability to build. So the idea of the jobs, the 9 to 5 as they are right now, has only really been in existence over the past, 150 years or after the Industrial Revolution, right? So that really has been the litmus test for what we see as a successful career. The idea of money and currency is actually not real, right? Depends what you believe in, but it really is a religion. Everything is pegged to the US dollar, which is actually pegged on nothing but belief as we speak. There's no lending floor, and there's no gold standard to the US dollar. So what is it that we are like all striving for here? We just want to be able to live at least a comfortable life and to feel some sort of success and self-fulfillment, right? So I think new graduates coming out of university, unfortunately, have been dealt a pretty heavy hand, where a lot of the jobs that they would have been doing are now being pretty easy to be automated. So what I would say to you is you should get really good at automating those things that you believe folks need those skills for. Otherwise, you are a slave to the tool rather than a master of it, right? So it's going to be harder for you than for anyone else, at least for the next 5 years, as people figure out what jobs really are, right? So the rate of acceleration right now is significant. So as people start to figure that out, like what is a job? Do we need universal basic income? Like, are there different strategies for what self-fulfillment means? Do people actually care about humans, or do they only care about self-fulfillment and their own wealth? Those are two different things. But I think if I was a new graduate right now, I would be getting my hands on every free AI tool that's out there and trying to make something out of it, right? Try to build something, put something out there. Like hustle, find someone who can spot you a credit card with $200 on it, just so you can host a website and see what traction you get, right? Work with a group of friends, right? There's so many opportunities, and don't think only about what's within your scope, like what's within your market, right? That's a good place to start, but think externally, right? Oftentimes, if you've traveled a little bit, you'll realize that humans are really just net exactly the same, no matter where you go, right? Have the same fears, they have the same goals, they have the same aspirations, right? Really, when you break it down. So everyone just wants to be able to go through Maslow's hierarchy of needs and reach the top, right? So if you figure that out, then figure out what people need and build something that they need.
Okay. Thank you so much. Let me ask a question regarding that, because most of the participants here probably are not techies like you, who will be able to figure out some of these tools and how to use them to automate things. So maybe if you can tell us from your experience, you've worked with some of the leading companies in the world, SpaceX, Google, and the rest. How could non-techies be able to survive in this particular era? How do you think they should be able to cope?
If anyone's familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect, right, and this graph, right, the more you think you know, the less you actually know, just in life in general, right? I think that one of the things that I'm fairly confident in is that it's never been easier for a non-technical person to appear technical, right? You have ChatGPT, you can ask all sorts of questions, Google Gemini, you can build apps from top to bottom directly through prompt engineering. And prompt engineering is probably like one of the biggest liars of a title ever, right? So it's just like, prompt engineering is really just an English major, right? So you can use Lovable, you can use Bolt, you can use Google Firebase Studio. There's so many different ways, and you can build apps end to end just using the English language. Super straightforward. And what you can do furthermore is you can ask ChatGPT or Cursor or Claude, whatever it is you like to use, right, to actually refine the prompts for you and modify it for these apps that you're going to use to continue to build your apps. You do not need to be an engineer to do any of this, right? My girlfriend is not technical at all, and she's built an app end to end that like is super useful for her. I no longer build any of my own presentations for my startup. I've created an app that builds all these presentations for me according to the prompts that I give it. So I just don't buy that anymore, right? Like I don't buy the excuse of like, well, I'm not technical, therefore I cannot do this, right? I think if there's other factors, then maybe I can be convinced. But I think there's lots of things you can do without being technical right now, and that's something you should just keep abreast of. You're on mute, brother.
It seems to me that it requires a mindset shift to be able to see these opportunities and to be able to actually try some of these tools. And I agree with you. I've been running Mozilla for 5 years, and the past 1 or 2 years, the things that I've been able to do, like, and makes me appear like an expert. I could just spin out an app easily, right? If I want to demo a particular product, for example, a client wants us to build a particular software for them. So before I even have a needs assessment meeting, I will go to their website, figure out some of the things they will need, and I would go to Gemini, just design something, and I'll tell them this is just a snippet into what we could do for you, right? And I know not next to zero when it comes to building an app or anything. So yes, I agree with you in terms of this, but I also think it's because it seems we've been operating in an environment where we're able to appreciate some of those tools, and for a lot of young people, they are facing this era we are in now with kind of fear, because they're always bombarded with the fact that their jobs are going to be taken away. They don't have some of those framework or attitude that are required to be able to capitalize this opportunity. And once the mindset is not there, you can't even engage with the tools. You can't even understand how to manipulate them. You use them basically, of course, if you're a student, just to write assignments and everything. You may not have the required mindset to be able to explore deeply. So maybe if you can touch on the mindset area, right? Some of them of course, are not privileged in terms of the schools they've gone to, in terms of the exposure they have. But what role do you think mindset plays in navigating this era, and how do they initiate that shift for themselves?
Is that for me or
yeah, it's for you. It's for you. Yeah.
I think mindset shift can be a tough way to look at it, because I'll tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with any African mind, right? I think that the world at large tends to attempt to write us off. And I think if you dive through history, typically speaking, folks who are like written off usually like have an uprising, right, of a significant magnitude. It's less about a mindset shift and more about understanding that the world is not where it was before, right? The things that your parents had to go through actually were novel things for them, right? And for their grandparents as well, right? But that was their reality. Your reality is very different, and you've grown up in this reality. A lot of you are much more tech savvy than what even some of us here are, right? You know how to use things. I don't have a TikTok account, for example. Like, I have no idea what's going on there, right? I cannot deal with the pace of things there. I can just see myself getting lost in that, right? But some of you are switching between like 20 different social media apps at any given point in time. And this is not even a thought to you, right? At how impactful that is, what that does to your brain, how it morphs things, how it kills your attention span, but it also makes you a multitasker of a significant note. So I think that these are real skills, right? What I do find though, right, and this is going to be a harsh reality, is so right now I have 8 employees, but I've hired a lot of people in my life. I was running a team of 300 when I was at Google. I've seen a lot of things from different areas. And what I do find with Gen Zs, right, is that you are very talented and also incredibly ignorant about what's out there, all right, and about the folks who are actually able to do things that you take for granted. So I'd advise you to not assume that life is going to be easy, that things are going to be handed to you, right? I think one of the things I was very proud of was seeing what a lot of the Gen Zs in Kenya did, right, in my home country, and stood up against tyranny at large. I think that's the type of Gen Z I like, all right? So if you make decisions for yourself that, hey, now there's certain things we will not stand for, AI taking our jobs? Well, AI doesn't know the jobs we will have, right? So let us make that for ourselves, if that's the reality. Or we demand specific things from our governments, but we cannot rely on them. So the things that we have to make happen. So I think it's a case of energy, right? And where you decide to put your energy in. If you're going to spend all your time using AI to help you generate your resume or your CV to apply for a whole bunch of different jobs, well, good luck to you. Everyone else is doing that. How do you get above the fray?
Mm, mm, mm. Awesome, awesome. So basically, you are saying we need to actually think differently. How do we use these tools differently? And that takes quite a lot of significant amount of agency. Let me move to Oluwadara. Thank you so much, Rama. Oluwadara, of course, you've been playing in the creative space in Africa and leveraging AI to do your work. And quite a significant number of the people on this call are interested or are already in the creative space. Now, one of the things that I hear about, the fears that I hear, even from the questions that were asked during the registration, is that a lot of them worry that AI is going to take away jobs in the creative space. Because with these tools, for example, with ChatGPT, you can just spawn out design or anything you want, just generate this for me, and it will do that for you. And what's your take on this? And where do you see opportunities for those young people who are interested in creative space so that they are able to either they're already in the space or they're about to enter the space? How do you advise them to be able to navigate it in a way that AI will become a propellant rather at something that will inhibit their progress?
Oh, all right. Thanks, Dr. Kenneth, for that question. So I happen to be among the generation that witnessed, some transformation in the third and the fourth era of the Industrial Revolution, and which is to say that I watched how BlackBerry fell, I watched how Nokia fell, and this is the same thing that will happen to people that do not embrace AI. So AI is not going to take anybody's job. It's not going to take your job, but people that utilize AI to make work faster, more efficient, and more productive, and of course, even with a high flare of creativity in their work, will take over the jobs of those that do not take advantage of using AI now. And I'll give a very typical example of that. For example, I remember when drones came in, a lot of people were like, "Oh, drones is not gonna make it," and all of that. A lot of cameramen back then, they were like, and then we had people that became drone cameraman, drone pilot, and these guys now, they've taken over a lot of other people's job. That basically, instead of them flying them all over helicopter, moving them around and all of that to take some shoots, drone can now do all that, and then this can only be done by drone pilots. And this is the same thing with AI too. Just like Nokia and BlackBerry, I used to say this to my people that if you don't adapt to the current technology trend, you will eventually or more or less become like Nokia or BlackBerry. And for those that may not be aware of what those guys were like the main power system for mobile phones back then. But then when Android came, BlackBerry got stuck with their operating system. Nokia also got stuck, and then they did some transaction with Microsoft and all of that. But then other products just started using Android, and then that was how they were taken out of the market. And this is the same thing that will happen to anybody that does not embrace AI. It is not a threat. It will only be a threat to a creative that is not willing to use it. And I always tell people that one thing about the creative industry is that, every year, it may not be evenly every year, but then there are cyclical trends, there are cyclical changes, and these changes, you must fastly adapt to it. It is only the people that can adapt that can actually survive. It is not the strongest, it is not the weakest, it is not the smartest. It is those people that can adapt fast that can actually survive. So if you cannot adapt to what is going on in the next 1 week, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 month, what you know now has become obsolete. And like what Rama mentioned earlier, as someone pushing the AI narrative here, you get to know tools, AI tools that you can use to speed up your work. For example, most people that knows about AI in the creative industry, most of them, when you ask them, oh, what do you know about AI? They'll just say ChatGPT, Midjourney, and Kling, and those are just what I mentioned and tell you. But there are still some other tools that you can use to leverage and be able to be productive. For example, we have Milanote, we have Zapier that does a lot of administrative work for you. And then there is also, when it comes to 3D, I have a couple of, in fact, this is it looks like a huge threat to a lot of 3D designers in Africa, especially, that are very good. They are extremely good when it comes to 3D sculpting, 3D texturing, 3D rendering. In fact, they're like, oh, wow, there's this new engine, Unreal Engine, that renders faster. Yeah, it's good. It's awesome. But then if you don't embrace the workflow of AI for your production, people that use it will get you out of the market. And this is because, in 3D design, you can actually use AI to create base mesh. So instead of you creating everything from the scratch, spending hours and all of that, just with a prompt, you generate your reference image, then you bring it back into your 3D AI generator, and then it creates your base mesh. You take it to whatever software, clean it up, and it's good to go. That saves you hours of work, something that might take you 6, 7, or even 24, 48 hours. You can just do that within 2 hours. I mean, any company, anyone will want to do their work that way, and that is one of the advantages of AI. So basically, it is not a threat. Most importantly, like I said, the people that refuses, to adapt are the one that AI will be a threat to. And, over time, history has shown that, every new tool disrupts, it always disrupts. And you have to do what? You have to move along with what is going. If you adopt AI, it won't take you out of your job, and it won't take your job away from you. So that's my takeaway note on that question.
Thank you, Luadara. Actually, he was supposed to actually a 5 minutes presentation on how AI is able to reduce, for example, the process of doing a 3D from let's say something that would have taken him, let's say, for example, 20 hours, he could just do it in 5 minutes. But because we don't have enough time for that, but you guys understand what we are saying. The issue of AI is not just something it's not just something that you just play at the periphery or at the margins. It's something you really have to embrace, and embrace wholeheartedly. Embrace it as if your life depends on it. Don't just use ChatGPT just to be able to generate emails for you. That's too much of a superficial use. There's a lot. You could actually use it to explore opportunities that you want to immerse yourself in. So AI is not just something that will be tangential in our lives. It's something that we should really, really embrace. I want to get back to Rama, because I know at first he acknowledged, of course, the privilege that he has had. But I know that he has, considering the some of the positions he has occupied with some of the big techs in the world, he must have faced a number of barriers. And I believe that quite a number of us would like to learn from it. So maybe if you can just, in terms of your own journey, right, through the past few years, you can tell us what has been the hardest barrier you faced, either breaking into these global tech spaces or even managing to climb. And then, of course, you running a business that I consider very ambitious. When I met Rama and he told me that it's building a business that had to do with space, the only human being that I know that does that kind of thing is the likes of Elon Musk, right? So when he told me that, I was like, what is happening? But of course, he's worked for SpaceX and Tesla, so maybe he got the genes from there. But anyway, please, just if you can just tell us some of the barriers you had to face navigating this spaces, whether it's breaking into global tech, managing to climb, and of course, now that you are working in a very, very innovative space.
Maybe I'm a little bit naive, but I just deal with whatever problems are in front of me, right? And I go after them head on. But if I have to think about barriers, most of the barriers put in front of us are because of people, right? Just in general. I've had some really great managers. In fact, my first manager from Tesla, Evan Rice, I still talk to him to this day, right? Like every month or so, he was the first employee of Tesla in Africa, and he hired me in, right? Then I've had, and actually even just before this, I spoke to one of my first managers at Google, Brains Mashila, right? So who I also keep as a mentor, and we still have a monthly sync till this day, right? So I've got that sort of relationship with some folks. Yesterday I was talking to another old skip level manager of mine, and there's some people that I maintain like that. I think they've always been helpful because very few things that you go through are firsts, right? It's very rare that you are the first person to ever experience an emotion of some sort, or experience heartache or disappointment. So I find that when you've got, when you collect mentors, it's usually, I think the mentors are usually a lot more powerful if they, one, have managed you, right, and seen your work directly, and two, also have a lot of respect for you, and you can see that not just in what they say, but in how they present you to other people. So that's always been helpful. But then I've had the terrible managers, right? The managers who want to take credit for your work. The managers who are, frankly, let's not call them racist, but you're aware that there's something going on there, right? Those type of folks who will try to put you down, or will try to find different ways to, what they call in America, they sun you, right? They like keep you in the corner over there, or they try to keep you away from the work, or for whatever reason, you can see them actively trying to get you fired, right? I've had those experiences also, right? Where you can't quite put a finger to it. My natural response to that type of thing is to wonder, what is it that I've got to lose? And I speak out very directly about it. That might not be your style, right? Don't YOLO life. I do quite often, right? But I think for me, that's been one of the ways that I've dealt with that sort of thing. I go head on. I say, what's the worst that can happen to me? Oh, I get deported and move to Africa? Sounds like a good deal, right? That's okay with me, right? That's where my family is. I get to see my family more often. Like, life is so much better. The weather makes more sense, right? It's just the opportunities might not be at the same scale. But right now with AI, well, whatever, right? So I think people will almost always be your biggest challenge, right? Like, regardless of what you put in front of yourself, at the end of the day, it's a human being assessing it, assessing your worth, assessing, etc. So for me, I don't necessarily put my self-worth according to how other people view me, right? I've got a pretty strong sense of like self and how I view myself, and love my family, I love my brothers and my parents, and that's and my girlfriend, and that's what really matters to me, right? And some friends. So it's about perspective for me, regardless of what challenges come in front of you. But there will be plenty. Like right now, immigration challenges are massive, right? I was once again lucky in terms of my timing, but there were potential challenges there, and I just found ways around it. So yeah, I get off my soapbox now.
Yeah, absolutely. So challenges are real, guys. It's just really to embrace life as it is. Rama, you've been able to, you are building a business, of course, within the US ecosystem, which is considered a bit more favorable when it comes to innovation and supporting entrepreneurial activity.
Yep.
And you know that most of our participants are in Africa. Do you have any word of advice for them in how to be able to still be able to do something significant within, considering the limitation of the African ecosystem?
I think it's about perspective in this regard, right? Maybe this is the mindset shift part, right, where I can agree with you, Kenneth. I think like we've mentioned before, it's never been easier to build something, right? Like, you don't need venture capital to be able to build, especially not now, right? I think in the last 6 months, things have significantly accelerated in terms of what you can do without venture capital, without sort of different types of support, and you can sell your product out to everyone. So my advice would be that, yes, put yourself in positions where folks who can help you, but also be as self-sufficient as you possibly can. I know that's harsh given someone who has also had a lot of help, right? But I'm not coming up in the exact same era, right? As a lot of you, so I've had a bit of a leg up, and that's just the privilege that I've had. If you don't have that, it's not the end of the world. In fact, bootstrapping can be one of the best things you can ever do in your life, like where you actually just go for something without necessarily having all the support for it. It'll teach you a lot. So I'd recommend taking a look at that, taking a look at different options in front of you, and just going for it. I think if folks here are interested, feel free to reach out to me and just ping me some questions. I'm happy to respond to them on LinkedIn. Right, might not have time for a call over the next few months, but I can certainly support in some capacity. I must apologize. I do have to leave. But I really thank you, Dr. Kene and Oluwadara for having me, and I wish everyone here all the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rama. And of course, that brings us to the end of the program. Guys, if there are a few things that he said that I think are really, really powerful. One of them is actually being able to get mentors along the way, right? I think it's really important. You heard him say how he got into Tesla was through somebody that he met. How he got into Google was through somebody that he met. Guys, it's important to start building relationships. Start really, really prioritizing building quality and not transactional, but quality relationships. People that will speak up for you when you are not in the room, because a lot of decisions are made, not purely on merit, but purely on the basis of people that some people are comfortable working with. So please prioritize relationship building so that you have people speaking for you. And of course, like Oluwadara has emphasized, it's not just really about AI taking over your job. It's really about people who are able to use this AI to increase their productivity by like times 1,000 are the ones that will take over your jobs. So if there is anyone to fear, it is those people who can actually use these tools. And what does that mean? That means that you can actually start using these tools for you today. Please, guys, don't limit yourself to ChatGPT. I'm telling you guys, don't limit. There are so many tools out there to try out, right? Don't limit yourself. And of course, you guys heard what Rama said while he was introducing himself. Nobody owes you anything. It's going to really, really get very, very serious in the next few years with jobs. In all honesty, there's no guarantee of jobs anywhere with what is happening. But you can actually make yourself, you can actually at least position yourself for the odds to be in your favor by doing whatever you can to upskill yourself, use these tools, build relationships, do your own best, and somehow I can guarantee you that things will work out in your favor. It's really been amazing talking to every single of our speakers today. Oluwadara, who is one of the best designers we have on the continent of Africa. And of course, we had Rama. Paul Amayo is actually currently in the air. His flight to Ethiopia to Kenya was delayed by Kenyan Airlines by more than 5 hours. So he couldn't land before our program. So that's why, but he sent his apology, and we'll try to get him to speak to you guys sometime again. Our aim here is really to be able to demystify some of the issues that you guys are confronting as you navigate the dynamic labor market. Things are changing so fast, and our hope is that this conversation has been helpful to you guys. We'll try. I know somebody was asking a question about whether we'll make the video available. Yes, we'll try to make the video available. We'll try to edit it and maybe put it on a YouTube channel, then share the link so that it's easy for you guys to watch. But once again, thank you everyone for showing up. Once again, apologies for the technical issues we had, which made us lose about 20 minutes to this meeting. But I'm glad at least we were able to pick up something. I personally picked up something. Once again, thank you everyone, and God bless.